You might walk away depressed. Well, this is the third one of these. Listen, thank you to everybody who's turned up, and thank you, Michelle, for hosting us. Thank you for all the MSPs who've made the effort to pop in. The annual report will be delivered to every MSP. We're going to make sure that every local council, every local authority in Scotland also gets a copy. You don't have to worry about me having COVID, by the way. I'm fully tested. It's just they make me go to all these parliamentary launches mixed with loads of people, and I cannot get rid of this cough after 3 months. Who else has had a cough for 3 months? Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Really awful. Right. Here's the thing. 12 venues that hosted live music in Scotland in 2022 had closed by the end of 2023. One closure is too many. 2 closures is outrageous. 12 closures is a disgrace. We should be appalled about what's happening to grassroots music venues in Scotland. It isn't good enough. We have to take action to stop these closures, and we have to take action bearing in mind that while these closures have been happening, the world's biggest live music company announced that their profits are up by 158% since COVID. 158% increase in the profits of the largest music company in the world. 12 venues closed in Scotland. I don't think you have to be a genius to put together the idea that they won't be making 158% increase in their profits in 10 years' time if we continue to allow small venues in Scotland to close down, artists in Scotland to be failed, people in Scotland that want to have local music in their community to lose access to it, and these companies need to come to the table with a common sense approach to the future of the music industry. I had a meeting with you'll have to edit that out, Tony. I had a meeting with a couple of weeks ago, and I asked them the straightforward question. Would it really, honestly have crashed your share price or caused you too much anxiety or stress or weakness or any other thing that you think about your company if you'd increased your profits by 157% since COVID instead of 158%? And they laughed and they said, of course not. And I said, good, because what you need to know is that 1% was £52 million. And I have venues that are closing down in Scotland because they don't have £10,000 to pay a noise specialist or to pay the bands that they owe money to. They can't invest in the future of music in Scotland because we have companies that are frankly vampiric. They are taking money out of the Scottish economy and they're flying it to some bizarre island in the Mediterranean or perhaps in the Caribbean, and it's time we stopped them doing that. Amusingly, up here there's been a lot of discussion about a levy on arena and stadium shows. I don't really see it like that. I don't think it has to be a new levy. It could be. It would certainly sit within the concept of £1.50 to print your ticket at home. Maybe £1 of that, £1.50 to have a QR code on your phone, could go in a fund to stop music venues from closing down and make sure that our grassroots artists in Scotland can get out and play every venue in Scotland instead of the 5 or 6 they can afford at the moment before they go bust. It's not good enough and it has to change. And here's how to change it. Michelle, we need you and every MSP in this room to get behind a push towards an arena and stadium levy on tickets that can create a fund that supports Scottish musicians, just like they do in France, where every single one of these companies is happily paying, happily is doing a lot of work in that sentence, they are forced by the French government to pay a 3.5% levy on the face value of every ticket they sell. And to explain to you what that means, when Louis Capaldi comes back to playing live, he will be taken to France to play in the Stade de France in front of 54,000 people. And do you know what? I love the guy. It sounds like a great show. I might even go if they'll put me on the guest list. But when he does that, he will be performing for a British promoter under the auspices of a British agent with the tickets sold by a British ticket company, and 3.5% of that money will be taken by the French government and invested into French venues and French artists. And if you don't think that's obscene, put your hand up. Okay, I think it's great. I think it's brilliant for French artists. But you know what? Maybe if Sacha Distel or Daft Punk come here, they could put 3.5% of their money into a fund to support Scottish artists. Here's the thing. People talk to me about this and they say, oh, it's the Beyonce tax. I think that was a thing thought up by the Express in Scotland, the Beyonce tax. When Beyonce comes here, I want you to tax her. I don't think there's anything wrong with Beyonce contributing to the economy of Scotland and getting behind music in Scotland. Does anybody think that's the wrong thing to do? When these superstars land here and they want all the money out of Scottish pockets, what about if some of that money, a tiny proportion of it, went into supporting Scottish music and developing the next Scottish artists that can go on and rule the airwaves around the world? That's not stupid, it's common sense. I'm not even asking for 3.5%. We'll settle for £1. Sounds like quite a low amount of money on a ticket, doesn't it? Yeah, I think so. Enter Shikari are doing it. When they play their shows in Scotland this week, next week, I think. £1 of every ticket they sell is going to go into a fund to support Scotland's venues. That's brilliant. We hail and support that artist. They're taking a lead and they're trying to make it happen. We need the arena operators. We need your... This is never going to make Instagram, is it? Me naming all these companies in Parliament. Let's name them all. Came to Scotland, made a shitload of money. It all went away. Let's keep some of it here. Keep some of it here, benefiting Scottish music, Scottish artists, Scottish venues. You should be absolutely... One of the first things I ever loved about Scotland was postcard records. You're all too young to remember that. It's mainly me that collected all the B-sides and the catalogue numbers though, wasn't it? And it is definitely me that went and stood outside the house that all those records were issued from, crying my eyes out last year. You should be proud of what Scotland's got. You've got to be proud enough to say, we need you. If you want to do business in Scotland, you've got to contribute to Scotland. Let's make that happen, because that, believe it or not, will enable everything else that's been discussed. With that money, we can buy the venues and place them into trust. We can prevent them from being at the mercy of private landlords by creating a national trust of Scottish music venues. They're owned by the publics, and public shares own them. Over years, we can reduce their rent. We can put solar panels and wind farms next to every venue in the country, and they can reduce their outrageous energy bills, up by an average of 240% in the last 18 months. And one venue in Scotland had an increase of 620%. It's obscene, but we need to tackle it at the root, tackle the infrastructure, take control of the ownership of the venues, take control of the energy supply, make sure that when you walk into a venue, it's a welcoming and greeting space for artists, great dressing rooms. We can make all this happen with a properly funded fund, and nobody in the music industry has to suffer. Because I'm going to tell you one last thing before I finally go and drink that red wine that's calling my name over there. Enter Shikari tickets are among the cheapest on sale at that level in the country. French tickets are 20% lower than they are in England for the same artists. Don't let these companies tell you they can't afford £1. They can afford 3.5%, and Enter Shikari have shown them how to afford £1. Let's stop taking all this bullshit. I've said bullshit, is that allowed here? Yes. I did call them all shady bastards in Westminster, and that did get me knocked out by Kevin Brennan. So look, there's a positive way out of this. £10 million is being spent by Scottish venues supporting Scottish music. I don't think it's only their responsibility. I think it's the responsibility of these big companies, and there's a simple way to make it happen. They're all telling you they're doing really well. Let's have them doing really well, 1% less, and we can have a properly funded grassroots Scottish industry that supports artists, like one of the artists we're about to see now, who I just saw nodding her head, agreeing that they should definitely get more money for playing live. That's right, isn't it? I want to pay the artists. All the venues in this room, we want to pay artists more. If they had more money, put your hand up. All the artists who'd like to get paid more money, put your hand up. Let's put those two things together. Let's ask these companies to properly contribute. Let's create a Scottish pipeline investment fund. Let's make this happen. Thank you very much.